This webcast talks about the Mission to Jupiter project, Part C, Question 3, where we're going to make a graph that shows the possible launch windows through the year 2023. Now, in the previous part of Part C, you have created a spreadsheet and the launch windows are now highlighted in your column, in one of the columns of your spreadsheet. So in this normalized longitudinal difference, we did a conditional formatting so you can now see those windows highlighted in green. But we need to do something beyond that if we're going to be able to graph these. And so we're going to make a new column called Launch Window. And we're going to, we won't be able to write a formula for this column. So let me show you how you'll do it. So this is going to be the launch window. I'm making this in column F. And what I'm going to do is page down through this table. And every time I see one of the highlighted launch windows over here, I'm going to copy these, and here it's two cells, so I'm going to do a Control C right here. But I don't want to just paste it, because column E was generated using an equation. And if I just paste it here, it will paste the equation and it will try to recalculate, but it will not give me what I want. What I need to do is to come over and do a paste of just the values. So I'm not going to click on paste. I'm going to click on the down arrow here, which gives me types of paste. And I want to just paste the values. See right here? So whereas this was a formula, here it's showing me the same number, but it has just pasted the result of that formula. Okay? And I'm going to have to do that. I'm just going to keep going down here until I see all of the highlighted windows. Here's another one. This one has 3. I do a Control C. I come to the column where I want to paste it, and I do a paste values. Okay, so you can see that most of this column is going to be just empty cells. It will not be completely filled. It's only going to have numbers where there are launch windows. Uh-oh, I must not have done a Control C there because I didn't get the right values. There we go. Let's see if there are any more here. It's a very long table. Oh, there's one more. Okay. So now we've got this column filled with the launch window. I'm going to save my spreadsheet here. After doing all that nice work, I'm going to save it. So the next step here says that we want to make a scatter plot of the normalized longitudinal difference versus universal time. Okay, so I'm going to select universal time, every one of the values in this column A. Now this is a very long table with more than 1,400 entries, and I want to show you a shortcut to highlighting the entire table. If you will put your cursor in the top value and then go Control, Shift, and hit the down key. So you're holding all 3 of those keys down at the same time. Control, Shift, and the downward arrow. See how it selected the entire column. Okay? And then I'm going to go back up to the top of the table. I need to hold the Control key down. So I'm going to touch the Control key and hold it down, and then select the first value of the normalized longitudinal difference, and then do Control Shift down arrow key again. Control Shift down arrow key. Now I have selected both of these columns, which are not adjacent to each other, and now I can go and insert the scatter plot the same way that you normally would. Okay, now it has created this chart for me, but this is a huge, huge table, and so this graph is probably going to get lost somewhere near the bottom. It's put it near the bottom of all this data. So while I'm here, I'm up in the upper left-hand corner, do a right mouse key, and say that you want to move this chart. So I'm going to click on Move Chart, and I'm going to put it in a new sheet all by itself, and you might as well call this Figure 1. And so I'm going to say OK. So look here, it has now moved this graph over to its own sheet, so I'll never have trouble finding it because it's labeled and I know where it is. Okay. So let's see what we should do now. Let's see, we've done this part. It says to label this as the launch windows for the Hohmann transfer from Earth to Jupiter. So I'm going to make that my chart title. And I want to insert an axis title. I don't really need a title for the horizontal, so I'm going to uncheck that. But I definitely need a title over here for the vertical axis. And so I'm going to call this Normalized Longitudinal Difference. And give the units for that, which is in degrees. And along the x-axis, I'm seeing dates, and I think those are easily understood, so I don't think we need to also put a title that says date. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is a graph of the difference between the Jupiter and Earth longitudinal angles. Well, it's just showing that these repeat in a recurring pattern, but we are not yet showing the launch windows, and so we need to go do that next. Okay, so what we're going to do is insert another series to this graph, and so do a right mouse click somewhere in the center of this graph and go to Select Data. When I click this, look, it takes me back to the spreadsheet where spreadsheet where all of the data is. And right now I've only got one series in this graph. And so I'm going to click on that series and say Edit, because I'd like to name this. This is the longitudinal difference. And I just wanted to give it a name because I want to be able to tell it apart from the new series that I'm going to add. And so see this button that says Add? Let me do that. And the series that I'm going to add is Launch Windows. Okay? Now, I need to give it both the X values and then the Y values for this new thing that's going to be graphed. So first, I'm going to click this little icon here on the right, and it'll take me, I need to go back to my sheet with the data. See down here at the bottom, I'm going to click on the heliocentric longitude data, and I'm going to scroll up to the top of the sheet here and come into the universal time. I'm clicking in the cell with the first value of time, and I'm going to use that trick, Control Shift down arrow, to highlight all of those universal dates. And then I'm going to click this little icon again to go back to that form that I'm filling in. So now it knows the X values, but it does not know the Y values. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to click this little arrow to go back to the sheet, and I'm going to go up to the top, and okay, for this window, for this column that has the launch window data, unfortunately I cannot use that shortcut of Control-Shift-Downward arrow. Instead, I have to hold my left mouse button down and just slide my cursor down the length of this column. I know that's a little bit of a pain, but since so much of this column is empty cells, this is the only way to capture all of this data. So just keep going. It just takes a second until you get down to row 14 something. 1462 is the last row. Okay, so I've selected that entire column, and now I'm going to go back to this form and say OK. Now I have two series here. They are both selected, so they're both going to show on my graph. And I'm going to click this OK. Okay. Now this may not look a lot different to you yet. The launch windows are here. In my graph, they are showing as orange. They are so small on the whole graph that they're kind of difficult to see. And so I want to make those be bolder so that they show up more. Again, in my sheet, they are colored orange. Yours may have a different color scheme, but I'm going to do a right mouse click on one of those orange points and go to the Format Data Series. Okay, so I'm going to click on Format Data Series, and here I'm going to click on the Paint bucket, and then on the Marker, and then I'm going to open up the Marker options, and see, right now it's using its automatic default options. I'm going to use some of the built-in options. I need to make this a lot bigger. Right now, it's a size 5. I'm going to triple that. I'm going to make it a size 15. And you know, I think I'd like to make it a square, just so that it shows, I just like the square better. Look what that did to my graph here. Now those launch windows, they really show up. I can tell where they are on this graph, and they stand out. Okay, so I think we did a good job with that, so I'm going to close that. Okay. And then the one other thing we probably need here is to add some type of legend to this graph. Otherwise, you know, how will your viewer know what are these orange squares here? So I'm going to go up to the green plus sign, and I'm going to add a legend. And see this arrow to the right of the legend? I can choose where I want to put the legend. It defaults to putting it on the right. I think I'd like to put it on the top though. And so now I have chosen the top, and here it has added, so now I can tell what the blue means and what the orange means. Okay, I think we have really done everything that we needed to do. Let's see here. It gives us a checklist here to go through to make sure we've got a good title, a label on the vertical axis, clear date labels. Yes, I think we have done everything that we needed to do, and so we have finished this graph.